I had woken up from a sleep the other day and I was sulking out the window looking up at the rain and a thought hit me. How bizarre is rain? Like seriously, it's commonplace to us now so we never really think about it. But fresh, clean drinking water falls from the sky. But where in the sky is this rain stored, you might ask? Fluffy things that, despite being laden down with millions of tons of water, float in the air like a fart in a downdraft. And how might we get a closer look at these fluffy things? Well, that's easy. Big heavy metal thing. You see, life doesn't need gods, mystics and charlatans. This place is already weird enough as is. He turned water into wine. Yeah, well, this eats bright and craps out the very breath you're wasting. Your move. Speaking of planes, subtle transition, I've been on them before. 4 times in total, which isn't a lot, granted, but like most people who exist outside of an Instagram feed, I spent most of my life paying for things out of money that really should have went towards eating that week. So anytime I did travel, it was usually on those very budget airlines. You know the ones. Planes got suspicious black soot all over the wings that nobody seems to be addressing. They're still using the older model flight attendants who have to use buckets of foundation to cover up the fact that they're a smallpox risk, and the pilot's got an eye patch, a wooden leg and occasionally nods off. Flying these Ryanair type flights is a lot like saying to yourself, yeah, I'll probably die. But that's a f***ing bargain. Like, could you really be mad if the plane went down if it only cost you 30 quid? Oh my god, we're gonna die!
Well, this is just typical. I told you this would happen, but you wouldn't listen.
But even with it being so cheap, it's funny how strict they can be in what you can and cannot take on a plane. Like, they take your toothpaste off you for some odd reason. Like, what do they think is gonna happen? Are they afraid my smile might dazzle the pilot in his rearview mirror? I know they can't be too safe. Who knows what people are hiding in things these days? But I think they've overlooked something. Anyone who's ever had a can of Pringles on a plane will tell you they already stock weapons on board. Seriously, have you seen what these little cans look like mid-flight? Like glorified hand grenades, and they just sell them on board. The weathered leather-skinned flight attendant will wheel her trolley down the aisle, upselling her wares like a nonchalant arms dealer in drag makeup. With the internal pressure in these cans, they're not even cans anymore. Just looks like somebody painted a honeydew melon. And she wouldn't even flinch when she hands it to you, despite the fact that this thing could easily take down a plane. Imagine having to explain that crash to the FAA. And explain again why the pilot didn't take evasive action when the plane nosedived towards the ground. Well, once they popped. Now, there's loads of advantages to flying. It's usually faster than walking, you're only a cheeky toss in the bathroom away from joining the half-mile high club, and you can be about 35,000 feet away from your problems. Unless, of course, you're like me and take your problems on board as hand luggage because your biggest problem is yourself. Yeah, I make flying more difficult than it needs to be because travelling enters my body into a heightened state of irritation. Everything sets me off. My missus, whose panic concept of time has entered extreme levels of ridiculous.
Will you come on? We need to be at the airport for check-in.
But the flight's not leaving for another 4 days. Talkative people on the plane who insist on treating a flight like it's a first date.
So, where are you from?
Afghanistan. And the high-pitched bellows of a baby crying because it disagrees morally with the concept of flying, or the flight attendant reminded it of its own mortality, or whatever reason a baby cries for on a plane. And I'd be sitting there, absolutely livid. You'd swear I own the plane. Oh yeah, just typical. They'd leave just about anybody on these €30 flights, wouldn't they? But to be fair, one look around the plane and I know I'm not the only one who mutters a soft, oh, when a baby boards the plane. Honestly, I think they do this on purpose to save fuel because the momentum created from the collective eye roll could get the plane halfway down the fucking runway. I know we shouldn't get mad, they're only babies, they can't help it, and it's only for a few hours. But those sentiments mean absolutely nothing to somebody who's put up with 2.5 hours of and who's only seconds away from popping the pin on a can of Pringles and shouting fire in the hole. I can't help it. I've tried reining it in, but there's something about flying in particular that just wakes a primal hatred of humanity in you. It's probably a survival instinct thing, because if you're a normal person, you're going to spend the better part of the flight fighting the reoccurring thought that you're going to easily die today. That's a nice view out that window. Let's hope the ground doesn't rush up too quickly. Oh, just a bit of turbulence there. I'm sure the wings are still attached. Oh babe, look, they got a turkey club. We're going to die today. When those kind of thoughts are knocking around in your head, is it any wonder you have a heightened sense of irritation? Somebody sticks their smelly leg hands next to your face on a bus, you might have a word. But when somebody does that to you on a plane, where you're already sitting there like a nervous Alsatian, you have to be talked down from wanting to pull a Mike Tyson on their big toe. But eventually you mellow out when the plane touches down and everybody partakes in the custom of clapping the pilot, which I don't know why, but it just seems so bizarre to me. Like landing the plane wasn't actually in his contract and he went out of his way to be nice, because normally he'd just bail out over his house. Alright, this is my stop. But I suppose I get it. It's best keep the pilot happy because, let's be fair, you're only one bad day in a return trip away from having to pick lumps of building out of your teeth.